And so it appeared then that as far back as June of this year, a Gardaí on mountain bikes in the city centre, attached to the antisocial unit at Anglesea Street Garda Station, they became aware of a large number of some of the most vulnerable members of society, the homeless, many of them, were consuming a substance that the Homeless Society were referring to as Russian Poteen or Polish Poteen. And that kicked off a Garda investigation. And much of that was headed up by Detective Inspector Daniel Coholan, and he joins me by phone from Anglesea Street. Detective Inspector, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
So that investigation was well underway by the time I had become aware of it from a member of the public. And what can you tell us about how that investigation, and I know you're constrained by what you can say, but how that investigation led you to a swoop this morning?
Well, Neil, as you mentioned, in June of this year, the Gardaí attached to Anglesea Street, and specifically the Gardaí and the mountain bikes you see in the city centre, they became aware of persons consuming what appeared to be very potent alcohol, a home-brewed alcohol. It was being consumed by, as you said, the vulnerable members of society and specifically homeless persons in the city. The substance they were drinking was referred to as Russian Poteen or Polish Poteen on the streets. As I mentioned, quite potent in terms of its alcohol strength.
Do you know the strength of it?
We don't at this moment in time, Neil.
Okay.
But I suppose what we can say is that the person that were consuming it would pass out at an early stage, having drinking it, you know. So this Poteen was always sold in a 500 milliliter bottle, in a bottle that your standard drinking water bottle from a supermarket.
So it would be like labelled as spring water or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
A spring water product.
Yeah.
And the price in the streets then varied between 10 and 13 euros per bottle. The suspect was identified after a period of time, a 36-year-old suspect. He appeared to have a certain pattern in terms of his daily movements and the locations in which he sold alcohol. He appeared to start off in the train station in the mornings. He may return home, stock up again, and travel to other areas in the city. And this would happen multiple times as the day would go on. As the investigation progressed, Gardaí contacted a number of their partner agencies, such as Customs and the Food Safety Authority of Ireland. As the Customs then took the lead in terms of, I suppose, carrying out a degree of surveillance and obtaining a search warrant, which was obtained in the District Court in Cork on Monday. This warrant was then executed this morning at a residential property on the north side of the city. The warrant was executed by Customs Gardaí from the Detective Branch at Watercourse Road, the Antisocial Behaviour Unit at Anglesea Street, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland, and the HSE. And I suppose what I can tell you is that a quantity of alcohol was seized consistent with the investigation. There was a capability this morning of approximately 60 litres at a time that this person was in possession of, but there was hundreds of bottles of water that was ready for packaging also.
Not water though, but Russian Poteen.
What there was hundreds of bottles of water, which of course will be emptied, emptied, and then filled up.
Okay. And what was this Poteen being distilled on the premises that you raided this morning?
It appears to be more packaged on the premises this morning, and it's probably being distilled elsewhere, and that's another part of the investigation that's progressing there at the moment.
Okay, so you did seize a quantity of it. You don't know as to necessarily where it's been distilled, but you say, how much of this do you believe? Have you any ballpark figure as to how many litres of it were being sold, say, per week?
It's quite sizable. For our investigations, we've uncovered that it's between 120 and 240 litres of alcohol being sold every week on the streets of Cork.
In half-litre bottles?
That's correct.
So that would be 500 half litres at, say, 12 or 13 euro half litre.
That's correct.
So that would be leading to in and around maybe 400,000 euro per year, would it?
Well, I suppose if it continued at that rate, Neil, that'd be, it'd be close on the mark there,
Okay. And would the Gardaí have been assisted by the homeless people? Would guards have asked them, where did you get this? How long have you been drinking it?
They were assisted because ultimately that's what led to the identification of the suspect from dealing with these people,
Okay. How organised was this? Do you think that there was a whole network of people involved in it, or what can you tell me about the individual that you took into custody, if anything at all?
Well, look, I suppose it was quite organised in terms of the sale and distribution. I suppose it included the sourcing of large quantities of either commercial or homemade ethanol, which was the predominant product that would have been seized. And again, consuming pure ethanol can be extremely dangerous. It can cause coma or death. A lot depends on how diluted it is when it's actually mixed and when it's sold on the streets. A person could be poisoned quite easily from it. And the fact that this is homemade, there's no quality controls in place, as there would be in a commercial alcohol production. And the advice from the Food Safety Authority would be that these products aren't under any official supervision by the HSE, or there's no quality control methods in place. And that just shows how dangerous this product is.
So you will now also have to try and ascertain the strength of this alcohol. It could be 80, 90, I don't know what percent proof it could be. But I did some research into it this morning and said it can cause certainly botulism, blindness, brain damage, coma, organ failure, including your kidney and your liver. It contains methanol that causes permanent blindness, and with regards to organ failure, death. Do you think that are you in a position to say that some of the homeless that have died on the streets have actually died from consuming this?
We can't say that at this moment in time, Neil, and we've nothing to lead our investigations in that manner. But it'll be the Food Safety Authority of Ireland, working in partnership with the HSE, which will look at taking a prosecution in terms of the health issues in this investigation. And then Revenue will take prosecutions in terms of the loss of the exchequer, in terms of what this person was producing, what he was selling, and the gains he was making from it.
How much can you tell me with regards to the holding of what looks like the holding of people's social welfare cards that we observed outside the GPO, where people would come up, be given a card, go in and get dole, get cash and bring it back to an individual?
So again, it looks like that was a system of credit control, and that was how this individual was ensuring that they got paid. So that leaded up by Revenue and by Department of Social Protection in terms of the abuse of the welfare cards in that manner.
So in relation to holding somebody's dole cards, is that a crime if somebody voluntarily gives over their dole card, I wonder? Do you know?
We're still looking at that, Neil. We're still looking at that, and
okay.
In terms of the Revenue and Social Protection will head up that side of the investigation.
Did you?
In relation to that.
Okay. Did you seize any dole cards at the premises this morning?
Well, the search is still ongoing as we speak. So what we can say is that there's a large quantity of bottles ready for production. There was approximately 60 litres capability at any one time in there this morning. There was an extendable baton was seized. And as I said, the search is still going on in terms of for cash and other items that may be there.
Okay. I won't press you any more than that. Can you say what happens next with regards to the individual that was taken into custody? Is he Irish? Is he? Anne was saying to me he was Eastern European. Are you in a position to say?
So it's not fair to comment, Neil. He's a non-Irish national, the person that is being investigated in this particular case.
You're saying that he's not Irish?
Not Irish, no.
But no more than. And what will happen now?
What will happen now is we'll gather the information and the evidence that we have seized this morning, and again, coupled with the partner agencies, we'll decide on the approach going forward. But obviously, the search was conducted today to put a stop to this person, and I suppose to preying on these vulnerable members of society and supplying them with this illicit and extremely dangerous alcohol. Okay.
Well, listen, thank you for the update this morning. I do appreciate your time. And we'll stay in touch on this subject and see where it leads. Thank you for that, Detective Inspector Daniel Coholan. Thank you. From Anglesea Street. I just had to redo the maths on this, because the maths that I had done on this story this morning was based on 140 litres of illegal alcohol. The Garda Síochána are now saying that it was very much north of that. It could have been up to 240 litres being sold in half-litre batches of alcohol being sold per week. Who knows how long it's been going on? It certainly has been going on since June. Who knows whether or not there's an actual crime involved in holding on to somebody's dole card as a form of credit. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. I don't want to in any way constrain an ongoing investigation. But this Russian Poteen and Polish Poteen that's been termed the product's name is very, very high in terms of its alcohol strength. And it's always sold by this character in 500 milliliter bottles labelled as Irish spring water. So to many, I suppose, who are drinking it on the streets, it would appear harmless, that they're just drinking water. But the effects of it on a person are just incredible, absolutely incredible. This stuff turns you into a zombie, an absolute physical and mental wreck. It is so strong that even small quantities of it can lead to organ failure, liver failure, kidney failure, death. Drinking it over maybe a somewhat longer period of time, it can lead to irreversible brain damage. It can lead to blindness. It can send you into a coma. It's got things like methanol and ethanol in it. It is completely illegal, as you know, anything that's distilled. The industry in the UK, I know, is worth £1.2 billion per year with regards to people distilling in unlicensed distilleries, much of it in their own homes. It's a £1.2 billion industry. That's what they estimate, and I suppose it could be much, much more than that, because it's kind of like dark web stuff. It's underground stuff. So that's what's been happening. The idea that somebody would take people's dole cards and hold on to it because the money then would be kept by this individual, and then they'd be getting this Russian Poteen and this Polish Poteen, or whatever you call it, on tick, makes it all the more reprehensible, really, isn't it? It's an awful story. It really and truly is. So that's where we're at. This morning at 8:30, as you heard, the Garda Síochána with Customs and Food Safety Authority of Ireland and the HSE and all sorts of different agencies raided this home. A warrant was executed on the north side of the city, and one man was taken into custody. We'll have to see what happens in regards to that. When a vacuum is created, incidentally, somebody else fills that vacuum. So I'm not saying that this is gone, in the sense that we'll see no more of this Poteen on the streets. You know the way it is with a vacuum.